Terrence didn't come into the bank to prove anything. He came because his rent was due on one property and the contractor on another was behind schedule. So he needed to move funds. But from the moment he stepped up to the counter, his presence was a problem. Jessica didn't hide her annoyance. Her smile vanished the second she looked up. She saw a dusty brown jacket, faded jeans, and tired sneakers. A man who looked like he hadn't walked into a bank in decades. She tapped her pen impatiently. "What can I help you with?" she asked, already looking past him. Terrence pulled a folded note from his wallet. The corners frayed. "I like to transfer funds between accounts and—" She snorted. Actually snorted. "I'm going to need ID. And probably a miracle," she muttered under her breath, smirking. Terrence paused, but he didn't speak. He just handed over his ID. What she didn't know was that Terrence wasn't just a customer. He was the owner of the building, the silent partner behind the bank's lease. And in a few minutes, she'd find herself face to face with a balance that would shut every smirk down.
Before we continue, ever been judged before someone knew your truth? Subscribe to Black Justice for more stories that remind the world. Respect costs nothing, but means everything.
Jessica sighed as she scanned the ID. "Sir, you do realize this counter is for premium account holders?" she said. Terrence nodded. "I do." "Then you're in the wrong line," she snapped. He opened his mouth to explain, but she'd already turned to her colleague with a roll of her eyes. "There's always one," she whispered. A small line was forming behind him, and Jessica made no effort to hide her impatience. Terrence kept his posture steady, but the woman behind him noticed. A middle-aged black woman in business attire. She leaned forward and gave Jessica a cold stare. "You might want to watch your tone," she said softly. Jessica turned back, flustered. "Excuse me," but Terrence gently lifted a hand. "It's all right," he said. "Just let's continue." The foreshadow was subtle. Jessica didn't notice the branch manager walking past. He slowed, glanced at Terrence, then disappeared into a back office. Terrence spoke again. "There should be a savings account linked to a series of trust accounts. I need to transfer $850,000 into account 3347 and $1.2 million into—" Jessica interrupted, laughing. "You do realize I can see your clothes, right?" People in the line shifted. Jessica looked at her screen, expecting a big fat zero or maybe a few $100s. Instead, she blinked. The screen didn't just show one account. It showed 7, each tagged under the same legal entity, Hayes Holdings, LLC, and one, just one, had a liquid balance of $12.4 million. Jessica's mouth went dry. She double-checked. Savings, investments, real estate reserve, trust management, emergency liquidity. It was real. Suddenly, her tone shifted. "Oh, Mr. Hayes, I didn't realize." Terrence raised an eyebrow. "You didn't realize I belonged at the premium counter?" She stammered. "I apologize for any misunderstanding." The quiet was loud. People in line were now fully watching. One pulled out their phone discreetly. Another stepped aside to let the manager through, because he had reappeared. Luis Ortega, branch manager, walked directly up to Terrence. "Mr. Hayes," he said, extending his hand. "I didn't know you'd be in today." Jessica froze. Terrence nodded, calm as ever. "I was just doing some fund reallocation, but it's been an educational morning." Luis caught the tension. "Is everything all right?" he asked, glancing from Terrence to Jessica. Terrence didn't raise his voice. He raised the truth. "Let's just say, I wasn't offered the standard experience for someone with this kind of portfolio." Luis's eyes narrowed. Jessica started to speak, but Luis held up a hand. "Jessica," he said quietly, "I think it's time you took your break." She hesitated. "But now—" She walked away, red-faced, her polished shoes clicking against the marble floor. The silence she left behind felt heavier than any insult. Luis turned to Terrence. "I'm deeply sorry, Mr. Hayes. We'll be handling this internally. You have every right to report this, but I give you my word, action will be taken." Terrence nodded. "I'm not here to get anyone fired." But I do hope she learns. He paused and added, because the next person she disrespects might not be as patient. Louise took a deep breath. You've taught us something today, and it won't be forgotten. That afternoon, Jessica was pulled into HR. There was no dramatic shouting, no yelling or public shaming. But her smugness? Gone. She was placed on administrative probation, enrolled in mandatory inclusion training, and her bonus, the one she'd been bragging about for months, was revoked. The district supervisor sent out a memo that week. It began, "Not every millionaire walks in wearing a suit. Let our service reflect wisdom, not assumption." Terrence left the bank with a quiet dignity. As he stepped out, the woman who had defended him earlier caught up to him. "Some people only see what they want to see," she said. He smiled gently. "Sometimes that's all it takes to miss the truth."
We live in a world that sells appearances, but real value, doesn't always wear a name tag or shine through polished shoes. It's easy to laugh when we feel above others. It's harder to stay quiet when we're wrong. Terrence never needed to raise his voice, because his worth didn't come from shouting, came from showing. To those who judge on first glance, be careful. You might be laughing at the one who owns the building. If this story moved you, comment below. Have you ever been misjudged before someone knew your truth? Subscribe to Black Justice for more real stories where character speaks louder than appearance.